I think more than anything, this particular progress meeting is so important because it matches to such a critical time in the history of the industry. I mean, right now, basically, almost all of the fundamental rules of how insurance has been regulated heretofore have been brought into question and are being rethought. And to have so many key regulators, so many key insurance leaders in one place to talk about that in open forum is incredibly important, because over these next 18 months to 2 years, I think it's true that most of the rules as we have known them will change.
We're holding it today because we are presently in a very challenging environment. Insurers have to cope with different challenges in order to do their business. And one could, if you look at the different challenges, one could divide them into three categories. First of all, the markets. Secondly, the framework the insurers operate in. And the third one, the general economic environment.
The biggest challenge facing the global economy, and therefore the biggest challenge facing investors, is the ability to promote high and inclusive growth. In most parts of the world, this means evolving your growth model. It means doing some fundamental engineering and some fundamental structural work. So far, this quest for growth has been frustrating. The ability to grow inclusively has been elusive for too many countries. And the biggest uncertainty is whether the political system will be able to respond and will be able to deliver the sorts of changes that are needed to promote high and inclusive growth, or alternatively, it fails to respond, and then we not just have low growth, but we have the return of financial instability.
So if you think about managing risks, this is what is our mission. I'd like to say that what we can do is assume risks by virtue of our ability to manage with the law of large numbers that are really difficult for an individual with a sample size of 1. Meaning none of us know the outcomes and the prospects for any of us individually. But we as an insurance company and the insurance industry can work and provide solutions that help everyone manage a risk that's very difficult to manage on their own.
As the populations of the world have become older, the needs for people change. And there's a lot of need for retirement funding, for pensions, for medical, for other kinds of things, all of which are in the sweet spot of the insurance industry because of its very nature of its business of understanding risk and protecting people from the risks that they can't really bear.
And I guess I would make two main points. The first point is that the initial easing by central banks in the face of the financial crisis was absolutely appropriate. The issue was financial stability or not. And central bankers chose financial stability, which is perfectly sensible. But over time, the objective of the policy has sort of morphed into supporting aggregate demand. And on that front, I guess I worry, one, that it won't work, and two, that it will have an awful lot of unintended consequences.
And I go back to the themes that I've used earlier. I mean, we need to do a better job planning where we build. We need to do a better job with the building code and how we actually build. And we need to invest in infrastructure, which in my mind ties very well with the theme that we've talked about today, which is long-term investments. There is, in Canada, for instance, a $55 billion gap in infrastructure investments that are directly tied to climate change. And therefore, there is an opportunity there as well to work with governments to better equip Canada for a prosperous future.
So the reality is that the regulations, the regulatory framework, the policies, the signals that governments send for the investors to chip into these sectors is pretty important. Governments create the enable environments. Governments create the certainty, and we have been hearing that. Investors are telling us, give me certainty, give me clear signals, give me the framework in which I can make my decisions to go into these markets. So I think it's a very important role, and we're coming to that understanding by having these conversations together, and also by building partnership between the public and the private to have this channeling of funds.
So it's wonderful that we have so much attention to the banks, but let's be sure that as we take that energy forward, we design something specific to the insurance business model. And let's focus on a simple question. What is the problem we're trying to solve? There are problems, but what is the problem we're trying to solve, and what's a narrow tool to try and address that problem so that we don't have unintended consequences, so that we don't make a healthy industry somehow even more risky?